Okay, hey, we're doing another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff to have a really special segment for you all where we're just gonna do a family comparison for the Seiko turtle line. We'll be looking at the turtle reissue, the mini turtle, and the slim turtle. A little bit of the brand. Seiko was founded back in 1881. They are Japanese in origin and now factories throughout Asia. They cover all market segments from entry level to high end. And in terms of the type of watch, these are all dive watches. Some key common characteristics and design language. When you're looking for a diver, of course, you're going to want water resistance. Typically, some type of screw down crown. You're going to want something that's tough, legible, with a dive time bezel, and a diver's extension is always nice if on bracelet. Although all three of these watches are featured on strap, some OEM, like on the mini turtle, and then on the outer flanks for the turtle reissue and the slim turtle, those are genuine tropic rubber straps, which I think this watch just does really well on. And I think most divers look great on rubber straps, but particularly these models. These are my own personal watches. I actually have multiples of each variation, blue dial variants, red text variants, in terms of like JDM models, and then even Save the Ocean kind of glacier dial variations as well. But I did want to kind of highlight these particular ones because I do feel they are especially timeless. And, again, big shout out to channel sponsor Belmont Watches for supporting the channel and enabling me to bring you guys some extra content outside of your typical watch review. So with all that said, let's go ahead and have a brief word from our sponsors before we get into these watches. They say you don't just buy the product, you buy the seller too. Well, here's a seller I can absolutely recommend. Belmont Watches in San Diego. They deal in both new and pre-owned, from industry mainstays to niche independents, across vintage and modern references. I've personally purchased watches from them and even had watches serviced and repaired through their local network. Whether you're just browsing current inventory or searching for a special reference, reach out and connect. You never know, they might be able to source the exact model you've been looking for. They drop new models every Thursday and even offer free 2-day shipping on all orders. Check out this amazing one-owner find. A true piece of history, equipped with genuine one-off memorabilia, personal to the Royal Canadian Air Force pilot who wore it proudly for so many years. You just can't find packages like this via standard retail. It takes real-world industry experience to create an offering like this. And if you're ever local, visiting downtown San Diego, you can check out their selection in person, or just stop by and talk shop with some fellow enthusiasts, who also happen to be some of the most down-to-earth and knowledgeable guys in the industry. So before your next big purchase, make sure to check out Belmont Watches and tell them Mark sent you. Thanks, guys. Okay, guys, we're back. So I guess we should probably, the funny thing is, if we start with kind of the originator, we'll probably start on this side, right? But this is actually the newest model versus this is the oldest model. Actually, one of the newer variations, and this one's probably the old. So it's a big remix. But let's go ahead and start out with more so the modern chronological order with the turtle reissue that came out and kind of just revitalized and rejuvenated the turtle brand of kind of that family piece of Seiko. So this is the SRPE93, which superseded the SRPE317. But essentially, the original 6306 and 6309 are the watches that this turtle reissue is based off of. Not only, were those evolutions of the legendary 6105 divers of the late 60s, but they were also Seiko's biggest commercial success in the diver space to date at the time, which kind of set up a special launch of the 7002 Scuba, which would eventually evolve into the SKX007 and 009 we all know and love. So this kind of predated that, and then they ended up kind of sandwiching it as the SKX line was being discontinued. They brought back the turtle, hence turtle reissue. And this isn't a one-for-one. It's definitely more of a recreation, but it is very, very much within that vein. The MSRP was around $495 on these. I would say if you can still find them, especially under MSRP, go ahead and buy these. These are such just timeless pieces. This has been in the ocean, in the pool, wherever, whenever with me. If you guys check my Instagram, you'll see some recent coming out of the ocean short form videos of me and this piece, and it's done really, really well. 45 millimeter case, so this is going to be the largest of the group. We're going to kind of go largest to smallest. 13 millimeters thick and a 48 millimeter lug to lug, which does help it wear nice. It does have a 120 click unidirectional bezel with an aluminum insert. Also, happy Seiko Saturday, guys, if you're watching this on a Saturday. Also 22 millimeter lugs, drilled flat hardlex mineral crystal, 20 bar, divers 200 meters, ISO compliant, water rating. If this has the automatic Seiko 4R36, the 36 is for it having a day and a date complication, which is unique compared to the other two models that are going to be here. 40-hour power reserve, 3 hertz, 21,600 vibrations per hour beat rate. So very, very nice, very classic, and an absolute standout within that kind of affordable diver space. It's not an homage. If anything, it's a true homage in that it's honoring something from the past, but of course it's honoring its own lineage because this is a Seiko branded product. And I have to say, this one is, again, it's not the fanciest, it doesn't have the greatest specs, but man, this is just timeless. And if you see it on somebody's wrist, you just know that that they're an absolute enthusiast. So I like that. Now moving on to what's kind of the story of what could have been, guys. This is the mini turtle. This is the SRPC35, and I do have it on the OEM strap, although it did come on a bracelet. This is the strap that also came with these models. Now, this model is pretty much just an underappreciated gem that had all of the makings to be the next SKX successor, with its size of just 42.3 millimeters, 13 millimeters thick, and 42.5 millimeters lug to lug. This is just a super wearable piece. This also has been in pools, oceans, etc. with me, and it's holding up really great. And I have to say, over time, it still looks fantastic. That's one of the things that I can appreciate about things like aluminum bezel inserts, because they will take on wear versus it being just forever glossy and pristine looking, while the rest of the case, I mean, here that's more so just micro scratches and probably a little bit of grime from it this warm summer day that I'm recording this. But let me just give that a quick wipe so you guys can see a lot of great items here that were just different that I loved. It actually looks a lot like my Ultimate SKX 007 mod that I had commissioned years and years back. So it was really cool to see this come out with these scalloped edges here, as you can see on that bezel insert. Love that. And then just the case, guys, look at that undercut profile. This is going to wear well. And that extremely short lug to lug, drilled lugs. Did we already go over? Yeah, we did. So we already got the specs, but let's hear the bezel. Also 120 clicks, also aluminum insert, flat hardlex, but here you're getting that nice date magnifier, which some people won't like, but some people will. I like it, especially in its kind of drop circular form there. I think that's really cool, and it suits the look of the watch itself. So this one, again, for me, a little bit more of a connoisseur's piece. These didn't get the huge launch, not a lot of fanfare, honestly, and I'm not sure why, because these are fantastic watches. Maybe they were just a little different because of the 3 o'clock crown. Maybe that threw some people off, but I think a lot of people were kind of rooting for something to be a little bit of a blend, so a little bit of the past and future styling here. I think they did a really nice job. It's very, very symmetrical, and I definitely see these becoming future collectors pieces. Not that I get watches because I'm gonna try to leverage them in the future to flip or anything like that, but these are just desirable. They are from an era of, you know, very affordable, very, very capable, and again, very original. This wasn't a reissue. This was a future evolution of something. And right now we're kind of back within that reissue, reimagining space. So it's nice to see something that is really fully contemporary and modern, you know, although it does have a couple of hallmarks, most of them being tied to, of course, the history of Seiko's dive watches, as well as just meeting ISO compliance. So very, very nice. And again, an underappreciated gem. Oh, this has also 4R35 movement. So, you know, 40-hour power reserve, 3 hertz beat rate also. And, you know, that's that. So now getting on to kind of the newest of the bunch that goes all the way back to the beginning. This is the Prospex SPB317. This is the Slim Turtle, and essentially it's a modern reinterpretation of Seiko's 6105-8000 Heritage Turtle from 1968 with the thinnest case to date of any Seiko automatic diver's watch. Now, not any Seiko automatic watch with 200 meters of water resistance, but any Seiko diver's watch. So very, very impressive, guys. 41 millimeters wide, very, very slim, of course, at just 12.5 millimeters, and that's to the top of that single curve sapphire there. Here you're getting stainless steel with a Dia Shield hard coating. The other models were unshielded, so that's something that does add a bit of a premium. These go for about $900 MSRP, but of course you can get them for less because it's Seiko. So you can actually get these for, you know, in the $700 range. Well, these models are starting to kind of go up in value. This one, now some of the luster's worn off, and you're going to be able to find these stocked for slightly less, and you'll probably see that continue over the years. Now, with that, you also do have a 46.9 millimeter lug to lug, which makes it wear very, very nice. Also unidirectional, 120 click. Definitely the best out of the bunch, whether it be from the grip there, all the way to the action. Very nice. Now, also, all of these do have a feature that I really love, which is the shielded loom pip. So that loom pip is not going to get stained, it's not going to get dirty, it's not going to patina. So that is pretty nice because you want that to, of course, to last. It may patina in terms of over time with its coloration, but it's going to patina, you know, at a similar rate to the indices and the hands because they're protected by the crystal, and this is also protected by a little crystal at the pip. What I don't like is when they're unprotected, they get dirty, they get filthy, you have to try to clean them with erasers, and then, you know, essentially you have something that's going to be exposed and patinaing kind of at a faster rate than what's underneath. So here, I do like that, and it's something that I do like about Seiko divers in general. With that, of course, the more premium price, you're getting more premium movement here with the 6R35 70-hour extended power reserve, still beating at 3 hertz or 21,600 vibrations per hour in terms of the beat rate, but it's nice and it's done well for me. I know not everybody's crazy about these movements, but honestly, they're all derived from the 7S26 that everybody loved inside of the SKX. And of course, prices have gone up, technology has gone up. You guys can see one of the difference between, let's say, the 4R and the 6R is going to be that Sprawn mainspring. So that is a non-magnetic, non-metallic spring, and it also does add that extended power reserve. So there are definitely some differences between the 4R and the 6R. Not everybody, again, I know they're not for everybody. I've had tons of them, especially within the Alpinist line of watches, and I've probably had 1 or 2 out of, let's say, 20 or 30 that I actually had to try to adjust. What's the nice thing is you can do it yourself. You can pop open the case back, take a little screwdriver, and just manually adjust it yourself. So that's something that I think is a little bit of an undersold feature, but I get it. You know, People love to criticize and critique, and things could always be better, things could always be cheaper, you know, yada yada yada. But for an enthusiast, right, I'm clearly an enthusiast of the Seiko brand. I'm not just a fan of cheap watches, and I think that's sometimes where things get lost. There's a lot of people that are just fans of cheap things that are kind of thinking that they're a Seiko enthusiast. They're just a fan of cheap watches, and then when it comes to their non-cheap models, they don't like them. So, you know, it's similar to Star Wars. Some people love Star Wars, and some people love things from their childhood. The people who love things from their childhood may not like Star Wars today, but, you know, again, they're enthusiasts of things that they love from their childhood, not of Star Wars. So they kind of end that little micro rant there, but I did want to kind of show you all of these kind of comparatively. Let's see them. You know what? Let's actually get them on the wrist next, and just kind of give you an example of how they all wear. All right, guys. So as you can see, check it out. We know that this was one of my most worn watches a year ago, and it still gets plenty of wear time. But let's see how the mini fares. Guys, again, this thing is really wonderful. It's that short, super short lug to lug, and honestly, even though it is a little bit thicker, of course, than the Slim Turtle, it is you know, still very beautiful. And you know what, some of you have probably been upset saying, hey, why is he wearing a pre-Willard and calling it a turtle? Well, it's because this is the origination of the turtle kind of case, right? And it's just the turtle name is something that is fan based, that came out, and yeah, because of that, you can go back and honestly, hey, if Seiko's calling them Slim Turtles and not Slim Willards, then you know what, sometimes you just have to kind of go with the flow. So don't get too upset out there for some of you hardcore or medium core aficionados that might be upset at that. But check out the classic. Still wears fantastic, of course, on the larger side, but to scale, you do have that wider band there, which works really well. And you know, again, this thing just oozes professional retro vibes, and I really like that. Sure, it's not going to be quite as versatile as something at a smaller scale, which this definitely gives you. I mean, come on, guys, you could absolutely see this as a 100% tool watch. So that's where I think the newer model really comes into play, where it's not just a tool on the wrist, it also is an extremely handsome and well balanced piece, and it also has the specs to back it up, you know, where you're getting that DS shield coating, you're getting that extended power reserve, guys. You're getting the closest thing to a dateless model by having just the tiny integrated date window there. I shouldn't say tiny in a bad way, but it's really nice that it is, you know, nicely tucked. And some of you might be saying, hey, that's too small. Well, guess what? You can still read Divers 200, and it's smaller than that, right? That's even smaller than the numeral for the date. So this thing is absolutely gorgeous. Again, very wearable. There's definitely more of a retro kind of vibe to this, even though this is based on something even older. I'd say the execution just gives you, I think, a lot of kind of modern vibes, especially with the elongated indices there. But they're all fantastic. Check out this beauty. I mean, for me, this is the unsung hero of the group. There's just so much to like. It's so unique, so quirky, and again, those are the types of things that collectors really look for. But with that said, let's actually close this out by getting these all off the wrist, set up for some Lume shots, low light transition, and closing thoughts. Okay, let's go ahead and hit the lights here. Hey, as you guys can see, just beautiful Lume-Bright Lume doing its job here, guys. And I would say to my naked eye, they all look great. They're all powering away quite well. These are definitely examples of some nice thick application in terms of that Lume. And you know, honestly, again, to the naked eye, they all look very potent. I will say again that Mini Turtle, it just gives you, I feel like, a little bit more surface area, so it's a bit more dynamic, and to me is going to render a bit brighter. But one thing, of course, is that nice beautiful symmetry because of that in between date on the Slim Turtle on the far right. So Very, very nice, guys. But one thing I always like to work in, of course, is a bit of low light transition, because you're not always going to be out in the middle of a field enjoying direct sunlight. A lot of times you're going to find yourself coming in and out of buildings, walking underneath overhangs, or just hanging out underneath the shade of a tree. So it is nice to see what these colors, textures, and finishes render like in less than optimal lighting. And here you guys can see that these are all beautiful matte black dials, and they might vary in terms of the level of that matte finish. I wouldn't say any of them are grainy or porous by any means, but they do a great job of just rendering as black, right? Of course, the bezel inserts at times, depending on the lighting situations, may kind of reflect back a bit more of an anthracite or a gray look, which is nice and does offer you a good bit of contrast there. But contrast is one thing that's always going to work, because you're always going to have all of that going on, guys. Look at that. Even in that partial lighting, you're still able to really clearly read each one of these watches. So in terms of functionality, these are fantastic, and you're really, again, getting a true masterclass on timeless design from Seiko. So guys, closing thoughts. This is, again, timeless is the word, a family of timeless dive watches that have offered competitive options for divers from recreational to professional, and, you know, have enough versatility to even be worn daily as a modern desk diver. So with that said, let me know what you all think in the comments below. If you like the video, please do a like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.